Good morning, Vietnam. Right on. It is Friday. That's training day. It's also a day where we're getting going here. Just want to thank the guys at the No Bull Conference, the No BS Conference, the Tell It Like It Is Conference. Also want to thank Gary V for his time and wisdom and friendship. Thank you so much, man. I can't believe it's been a year since we got together in person. And I just learned so much from being around all of the great speakers. Jim and his wonderful wife, thank you so much as well. Everybody, training's an hour early today. So it's in 1 hour from now. 1 hour from now, we're going to be training on time management. So if you're interested in how to bend time, utilize time efficiently, effectively, with statistical success, join me in an hour. I will love here on IG or on Clubhouse or on our webinar. So we have over 30,000 people registered today for training. Thank you so much. We enjoy you and appreciate you. All right, let's get to some questions. Get warmed up for the day. What was the energy like speaking in person? It was off the charts. I am surprised I didn't wake up sore this morning from all the energy I exuded. Taking it to the next vibration, the incredible, it's great, man. There's this blend now, right? It's online and live, and it's just so wonderful to feel the energy of the audience. I did a fireside chat that was probably my best one I've ever done, and just phenomenal. And I can't get that online, so if you have a chance, check it out. I'm sure we'll be posting a lot of content. But once again, thank you so much to the NobleCon.com people. The Noble event is noble. Ask Gary, ask myself. I saw Edwin there and Shay and just unbelievable people. Glenn Lundy, my man. They got the coolest poster with all of us on there. It's like a Where's Waldo poster. It was really cool. Anyway, what was your favorite part of yesterday's Noble event? Well, first of all, being in person and the love that everybody shared. But the fireside chat was, to me, the favorite. The one I did with Gary, the one I did by myself. Just getting, it's one thing to speak. And I know because online that you have to do a speech to give information to people and motivate and inspire people. But I love to answer what people want to know. And there's a great blend of being able to educate and inspire and motivate, as well as answer what people want to know and apply what we're talking about. So awesome. Let's see here. The biggest lesson and takeaway from this experience. So the biggest takeaway I got from Gary was how to utilize TikTok for someone like me. So my perception of TikTok was that what I do and teach doesn't resonate with the audience on TikTok, but actually, to illuminate, instead of talking about you should do this, I can talk from a position of this is what I did. Don't make the same mistakes that I've made, right? Learn, here's the situational knowledge. Here's the dummy tax, I'm gonna pay it for you. So that was a really big takeaway for me because I haven't figured out how to use TikTok. And I think that's really going to help me is to tell people, look, I lost $100 million and this is why and how and who, and don't make these mistakes. I do that a lot about asking for help and a few other things, but giving classic examples and stories that have happened to me was a great piece of advice. Another takeaway that I have for the week, by the way, that I really am studying is that logic does not overcome emotion. You cannot out-logic your emotion. Action is what changes your emotion. And so if you have a feeling that you want to get rid of, don't think about it and try to rationalize it. Go do something that's aligned with how you want to feel. So, go walk, go exercise, meditate, laugh, watch a funny movie, whatever it is. But logic will not overcome emotion, only action will. Welcome, Israel. I see you there. People from all around the world. Thank you so much. Here, side hustle business tips. Overwhelmed but determined. Get better at your primary hustle, and it will give you more time and money to allow you to be successful at your side hustle. You need to be able to transition from your current hustle to a side hustle. In order to do that, you got to get better at your regular hustle. You got to be a professional. You got to lean into what you're doing. The legs feed the lion. The stronger the legs are, the more you'll be fed. The more you're fed, it'll be time and emotion and money that you'll be fed, and that allows you to pay more attention to your side hustle, to let that align and grow so that you yourself can make your side hustle your primary hustle and lean into that to give you more time and more money to do that as well. Welcome from Japan as well. Let's see if my guest is here. We have a big celebrity today. There she is, the incredible Samantha. Here we go. I know this will be one of the people you recognize, and you're like, how did David get Samantha Lockwood? She's so wonderful. And there she is.
Hello.
Hello. How are
Hi.
you? Let me
I'm
turn
well.
my volume up. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me. I have done so much more due diligence on you. And one of the things that I love and didn't realize is that you were the youngest master of Bikram yoga when you were 17.
I was. Yeah. Well, I was one of a few who went through training at a young age. Thank you to my parents who practiced with him many, many years ago. So he allowed, well, he told my mom and my dad that I was allowed to come and practice a year before normally. You had to be like 18, and I was able to go from my 11th to 12th grade summer. That summer I spent learning yoga.
And how did that
Yeah.
impact your acting career and
Uh,
utilizing yoga itself for all that you experience to get, all the tough gigs that you get?
Gosh, yoga helps with everything. I don't even know where to start because yoga is like life to me. Yoga is amazing. Um, it gives you it gives you so many tools for life beyond just feeling good in your body. It gives you tremendous focus, determination, concentration power. Um, for my line of work, it gives you a little bit of that feeling of, well, life is a movie and it's all, you get this feeling of like you do your best, but you're not attached to the outcome, no matter what, whether you get the job or whether you don't get the job, or whether you're performing and you don't get attached to the performance, you don't let it affect your inner being too much. So I think it's great for every entrepreneur, every artist to learn a practice like that. And I think especially now with what's going on in the world, we're in some kind of crazy times, and I think yoga is very necessary. Just the idea of taking care of your, not only your physical body but your emotional, mental well-being is so important right now. So I'm very fortunate. I got to study, and um, that I pursued it as much as I have in my life. I never gave up on it. I've always come back to my practice, even if I take time off to do other things, or if I just need a break, either from practice or from teaching. And I always come back to doing it again. I just love it. It's been
It's so fun
a
because
real.
yeah, well, you're extraordinary. And, it's funny for my career. I went from being an entrepreneur and an executive into TV and movies. And the lesson I learned from yoga as I entered that space was not only detaching my emotions from an outcome, but my emotions from just expecting things to happen on my time frame. So patience was a big
Mm,
thing that I think a lot
yeah.
of people who dream about being in TV and movies. Now, you were on Hawaii Five-O and on the set of Hawaii Five-O, and you actually learn from TV how to be an entrepreneur, and you have a great company that you've kind of created. What were some of the lessons that you've learned from being on set of Hawaii Five-O and CSI and all the other things that you've done that you've applied to your company, which is the flooring, right? Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes, flurries. Well, I don't know if I've learned things on set that I apply to my jewelry business per se. My mother was a major player in the infomercial world, and she was also an actress. My parents are both actors. So I learned a lot from them because they were always the face of whatever it is that they did. I mean, my mom was the face of her infomercials. My dad ran a kite company, and I think the acting kind of helps prepare you for being personable with people. I mean, I could say that. I could say that with my jewelry line, I'm not afraid to pitch my product, tell people what it's about, explain the concept because of my acting background. Um, so I guess that would be the tie-in for between those two worlds for me. But they are pretty different because my jewelry line is really specific and it's a really unique concept that really sells well to brides, bridesmaids, like weddings, and I mean, it's really specific to women who want to wear flowers because it's a very specific concept. Um, and
And
then
with
my
that
acting
concept, though,
is
oh,
so
sorry.
totally different. Yeah, go on.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, it's interesting because both of your parents being actors and being the
Mm,
face of their own business and their own brand, pre-social media even. And
yeah.
what was it when you actually became the face? And a lot of kids aspire to be like their parents. And what were the lessons that you learned when you had to take the stage and you became the face? And how did being on Hawaii Five O impact your own illusion or your own perception of business and branding?
Hmm. Well, I will say what's interesting to me about branding and business is that it takes a lot of persistence. Just because somebody saw me on Hawaii Five O, that didn't necessarily mean they automatically linked me to the girl who created flower earrings. So here you have this press opportunity, right? You've been on a TV show, or I was in this movie called Shoot the Hero, which I starred in with Jason Mewes and Danny Trejo, and that movie also did really well. It was on Showtime. We just released it on Amazon as well. But people don't necessarily associate me with the flower jewelry girl unless they know that I make that jewelry. And then they Google me and they go, oh, that's the same person. Okay, we get it. So I would say it just takes a lot of consistency and it takes a lot of motivation. And you have to constantly put it out there that we are one and the same. I, the flower making jewelry girl, am the girl you saw on that show or on this movie, and you don't have to be an actor to think like this. I think the whole point of this conversation is that you have to constantly sort of link together. I'm the guy you saw last week on that, talk I did, or I'm the guy on the magazine and people start piecing it together on their own, and then they go, oh yeah, you're that person, and that gives you credibility and it helps build your brand. Um, so I guess it's to answer your question, it's consistently putting the message out there that I, Samantha Lockwood, am that person who makes this jewelry and also does this. And you've probably seen me here and there. Being
I get
consistent.
that completely, and and you do such an exceptional job at it. One of the things, I do so many interviews. I have so many different shows that are either on TV or here on social media, and the one thing that comes across from meeting you is you're probably one of the most thoughtful people. And empathetic. I pick up on vibrations and frequencies.
Oh,
You're very thoughtful. I was
thank
curious where beyond yoga, because obviously that empowers you to be thoughtful, but are there certain things that you have read or you listen to that have also changed your perspective and accelerated this thoughtfulness and purposefulness that you carry?
if I share something, it's very deep. I went through a bit of a trauma in my life with a loss of one of my parents. Um, it's been thoughtful, first off, but I think that experience for me has really made me grow. I think you could say it's made me grow in a way that I can't really quite put my finger on it, but it's in a way that makes me feel a lot more accountable, a lot more responsible for what I say and what I do. Um, and it's just interesting. It's almost like when you no longer have the source of somebody in your life, you just become so much more, I don't know, on your own 2 feet in a way. You can't point fingers anymore at anybody else for anything in your life. So you become a lot more thoughtful about what you say, about what you do, about where you're going. And I don't know, I just became a lot more, maybe, I guess you could say, responsible for my own words and my own actions. And I've really looked deeply at myself um, through that process. And it's very revealing. I'm like, I don't know
No,
if
I
people watch,
appreciate.
but
No, I
I'm
appreciate.
to you as sincerely as possible, because I do think that that is one of the things that has helped me on my journey of my own personal growth, believe it or
Wow.
not.
It's a very attractive quality, and I mean that in a deep sense of attracting the right things to your life and the right people and the right ideas. And I rarely pick that up from people, especially in these platforms of pure thoughtfulness. And it's a great quality to develop, and you are well on your way. So I wanted to compliment you on that. And where can people find your company as beyond the philosopher you are an entrepreneur, and so I'd love to send people to your wonderful jewelry company as well. Is it Florings.com?
Flurings.com. And the concept, I have a little sample here so that people can actually
Please.
see what it is. So this is the idea. It's a little necklace. It's a vase. They come in 3 different sizes. That's the small, or that was the large. That's the medium. Oh, I have like a piece of leaf on that one. But I have earrings as well. And the earrings are really cute. So you basically fill them up with water, and then you can add flowers to them. And your
Oh my
flowers
God,
stay fresh for hours and hours. Hence the name
so smart.
earrings, flower earrings. Yeah.
That's
So
super cool.
anywhere you go in the world, you find different flowers. Thank you. And that's the idea, is that you can wear all kinds of different flowers. Like these are tuberose, which smell heavenly. And I don't know what the heck these are, because I'm in Bali right now. I found these growing on a tree somewhere, and I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff
So
growing
cool.
around.
Well, I have 3 daughters and a wife, so now you just have 4 new customers coming your way. So hopefully it was worth your time. And thank you for being so wonderful and thoughtful. Everyone out
Oh,
there, you're amazing. Come see me again. Thank you, Samantha.
thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody. Thanks for listening. Bye,
Bless
Emma.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. You're awesome.
Bye.
Oh, wow. She is so thoughtful and so kind. You can just, I love the energy of people when I'm here at the No Bull conference, and Samantha is somebody that I would put into that category. That was no BS, just vulnerable, honest, and so thoughtful. And I saw some of you goosebumps, and yeah, Jesus, super creative product. I had no idea. I'm not wearing earrings or necklaces. But that is super cool. Okay, I'm gonna bring my next phenomenal person on. Here we go. Let me just get back up. There we go, Bry. Okay, with an upgraded Brian Kaye, Yippee Kaye. My boy Brian is here. We're gonna get him on. We're welcome in a little break here at the No Bull conference. We had an extraordinary day yesterday. Hey, Brian, how are you?
Hey, I wasn't sure if it was working. By the way, I want some flare rings, so you got to hook me up.
Yeah, me too.
I'm going to wear them.
Yeah, that was super creative, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, I love it. I was like, I totally want it. I won't wear them. My niece will wear them. I won't wear them, but
Yeah, no, I was thinking my sports mind's going. I'm like, how could you use that base? Like you could use the same concept and like have something with like a baseball on it, like I
oh,
would put
yeah, like what else can
like
you
a little trophy, like a trophy stand instead of a base. And
you turn,
wow,
can
it's
you
been a
turn
while.
NFTs or something? Because that's all the rage. So,
Well, you are the CEO and publisher of LA Weekly. Your business has changed dramatically over the last 12 months. So I want to start there. For those that don't know about LA Weekly, give us a little bit of history, and then let's talk about how it's changed from that history over the last 12 months.
Yeah, so I mean, we've had LA Weekly for 3.5 years. The publishing industry is just constantly changing because of technology, obviously, and we've been forced to adapt. I think everyone's been forced to adapt. So, but COVID hit the industry so hard. I think that I saw that, or I read, I think like halfway through COVID, and it's crazy because we're still in COVID, right? But halfway through last year, like 270 newspapers had closed their doors forever because of it. And so we were fortunate enough to not be one of them. We actually had, at that point, had two newspapers, neither closed. And we were able to kind of, keep the doors and the lights on and then pivot and do some really interesting things. And honestly, by the end of the year, we ended up acquiring two other papers, including the San Francisco Marina Times, and then also the iconic Village Voice in New York. So
Yeah,
we actually save some papers and try to use our model elsewhere.
And you then amplify. I talk about having content. When you have these great ideas like the LA Weekly and Village Voice, etc., you've been able to utilize that content in different platforms. And can you talk about how and why you moved from a traditional distribution into other platforms and formats as a brand, and using that content in audio, video, etc.?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we did was obviously we started creating short vignettes on socials. So if you go to our socials, we do all sorts of video. We do a bunch of podcasts. We have a network of 5 podcasts now, because podcasts are kind of, like you said, the no bull in terms of media today. And you have a podcast. I've been on that podcast. But it gives you an opportunity to have a more in-depth conversation with people. And I think that like more and more consumers, especially millennials, especially Gen Z, like they want those longer form conversations with context, because oftentimes you read a story, you see a tweet, it completely lacks like really, really important information, really, really important context. So, so I think that the podcasting has been a really huge win for us. Also, we are just on the precipice of doing kind of some really cool different weird video content, which I think will hopefully change the game a little bit as well. But I think you had to pivot. Like if you're not on every platform doing kind of everything, sharing the content in the written word, in the audio, in print, then you are.
Oh, I think we have a connectivity issue. Shoot. Let's try that here. We'll get Brian back on. It's interesting because Brian, is a guy that's leaning in. Where everybody else was going out of business, he's leaning in to see which ones he can acquire and build a bigger platform and reach more people and have a bigger community. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and see me fine. I know we had the Bali there, and now I'm surprised in LA where we have our signal. Please give me a thumbs up if we're good. I'm looking for Brian to come back in. Let's see if we can bring in a question. How do I overcome fear? You can't overcome fear. What you can do is you can practice ending fear. Practice ending fear by identifying what you're afraid of. And instead of trying to resist it, simply stop. Stop, drop down to your center, into your neutral, and then roll in the right direction. And when we identify fear, we have to realize that, there's secondary fears that are triggers. I call them trigger fears. And the trigger fears are the ones that then trigger the primary fear of flight, feed, fight, or the other F word. And that's what go ahead and blood drains from our brain and it goes right to our body. We make bad decisions because we have no effectuating brain power at all. And I'm trying to teach people to be ferocious Buddhas, kind of like the Psycho Bunny, but a ferocious Buddha. And go ahead and stop, drop, and roll when we identify fear. I'll wait, Jennifer, my dear friend. We'll get Brian back on. He's an extraordinary guest. Oh, there he is. Hey, Brian, good to have you back. All right. Technology doesn't always cooperate, so we appreciate your patience, but these guests are extraordinary and we want to thank them for their time. So, hey, Brian, you're back. How are you?
My internet's being weird this morning, so if it happens again, my apologies. I think, oh, I can see you now.
You're good, man. So I was going to say, I want to talk about your mindset because you're a person, you run the playbook with me in person, by the way, and I miss seeing people in person. I'd like to give you a big hug, brother. So, but you have such a great mindset. And I think the people that have a great mindset during this period of time are going to be in the third that come out of it doing really well. There's another third that'll be stable that just have that mindset of, just enough. And then you'll have the other third that have the worst mindset. I was with the Sadhguru last week. He said, you want to live a long life, Dave? Be miserable. Then you'll have the longest life there is. He said, you can be productive. That's another way. But miserable people live really long lives. Well, you're not a miserable person. You're the exact opposite. What is it in your mindset that when, a once in a lifetime event like COVID happens, that you have this mindset to lean in and to grow, expand, and accelerate while everybody else in your industry, how many companies went out of business? 200 and some?
Yeah, almost 300. Yeah, different papers. Yeah, during.
What's the difference between your years compared to all the rest of them?
I think it's just because I came from so little. I came from nothing. That I know what that is. So I've had to kind of hustle my entire life and just get really creative to make anything happen. I mean, literally from nothing. I tell the story all the time, so I feel like people are sick of hearing it. But my mom was on welfare and food stamps. I mean, she worked 3 jobs. She was a single mother of me and my sister. So for me, like every step that I took was a step that I didn't even know was there, right? So I've been really creative and would do anything to make it, frankly. And I think that helped last year. Also, I think that because of some of the struggles that we went through when we first purchased LA Weekly and some of the public struggles just over my lifetime, that I thrive in a crisis environment. So I was telling someone a few weeks ago, I was like, things are stable and quote unquote normal. I need some kind of chaos so I can keep pushing myself. So I think part of it is really that I'm so used to being in an environment of chaos and crisis that I feel this sense of having to help and be responsible for everyone around me. And that pushes me to think outside the box. Okay, what if we did this? What if we did that? What if we did this? One of the craziest things that happened last year during COVID was my staff thought I lost my mind when I said this to them. I was like, we're going to do a product that's different from our core products. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, our advertisers can't really advertise in publications for a variety of reasons. So we're going to create a quarantine care package, and we're going to give it to frontline workers, and we're going to give it to influencers and celebrities. So they get the reach of an influencer like yourself who can share the product with a broader audience, but they're also helping and doing something good during the pandemic. My staff literally thought I lost my mind. I was like, we're going to go out. The brands will sponsor it to be in it. It'll be great. They were like, oh, Brian, it's over. Brian's done. This whole thing is going to fall apart. But it turned out to be this incredibly successful product that was really a saving grace for us in the middle of COVID. So it was just crazy pivots like that no one would thought of doing, right? It's just kind of why are you, that's not your core business. Why are you doing it? But my attitude was no, it's in our core competency. We have this influencer network of amazing people that we've covered or we have relationships with, and we have these advertisers that still have the needs, and we have a whole community in the greater Los Angeles area of frontline workers who are serving people and would like a gift. So it worked. But I think for me, it's just because when you come from nothing, you have to work differently to get somewhere. And I just take that kind of mentality in every single thing that I do. And I'm annoyingly persistent too, I guess. I get that from my
I love that. I love that. I tell people all the time, I was here, Gary and I did this no bull, and I start off all the time saying, who here grew up poor? And half the people always raise their hand. I'm like, I feel sorry for the rest of you. So people like Brian and I get it.
Oh yeah, I don't have any kids yet, but my niece, I'm always I'm okay, if you want something, here's a list of things you have to do for it. And I always tell everyone, I'm like, if I ever get married and have kids, I'm gonna like have a menu in the house. And every time they're like, oh, I want this or I want that, there's gonna be tasks and there's gonna be like a dollar amount next to each task. And if you want $100 game, whatever it is, like, well, then you need to do these 10 different kind of tasks that will add up to $100 before you're going to get it. And I also think there's a couple other things I would do because I do really see the value. I want, if I do have children, I want them to have that same struggle that I did because the whole entitlement, I just can't do it.
I have 4 kids. You can come over and babysit anytime. Last question, real quick. You have an extraordinary podcast. I know podcasts really well, the Village Voice podcast. For you, what's your favorite thing, since that's something new for you, what's your favorite thing about doing the podcast?
Well, so it's funny. So we haven't launched the Village Voice podcast yet, but we will. But we have 3 other podcasts. We have the More Hustle podcast, which is about the come up story, the hustle, which is powered by the Village Voice and LA Weekly. And then we have the Rockstar Experience, also powered by the Village Voice and LA Weekly. And then we have the LA Weekly podcast. And all 3 of them, I'm hosting all 3. So I'm gonna soon not be able to work because I'm hosting podcasts. But I love it, like to your point, because you can have long form conversations with really, really interesting people who are doing incredible things. But for me, one of the things that I love about the More Hustle podcast in particular is it's not about like the things everyone talks about. It's not about the glitz and the glamour. It's really about the come up story, the story behind the story, what it took to get where you are, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I feel like those stories are missing, whether it's from like some famous Hollywood actor or an MMA fighter or a musician or an entrepreneur or an athlete. It's always kind of like, oh, they're so great. They're doing this, they're doing that. But there was a lot of ugly, dirty times that got them to where they are. And I think that people need to hear those stories because especially during COVID and even before with the whole Instagram generation, you're seeing like everyone's life is so great. Everyone posts the things that are like the best. And you get down on yourself, well, how do I do that? And I think it's important to share the behind the scenes of what actually happens to get to where you want to be. So I love it.
Yeah, I know. I agree, and I look forward myself to joining you on one of those. Love to be interviewed by you. You are one of my favorite people with such extraordinary insight and questions. It's not, for an interview, and we do so many, right? It's about the questions that people ask you that give you the ability to share what really makes you ticked, what makes you vulnerable. And I always appreciate your transparency and vulnerability and great insight. So Brian, thank you so much. I can't wait for this to end so I can get you in person, give you a big hug, and do some more content with you.
I would love that. Thanks, David. You're the best.
Yeah, vice versa. Brian Kaye, check him out at Brian Kaye. You got him. Easy, the LA Weekly, Village Voice, and so many other things. Great to see you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience with our great technology. So awesome. All righty. We are rocking and rolling here. Let's see what we got. Let me take another quick question. How do you manage your time when on the road? So I utilize a routine or an adaptable routine. Most of the time it's an adaptable routine because if you want to make God laugh, come up with a well-developed routine or plan and then go on the road. And I promise you'll need that adaptable routine based off of your own value. So make sure you have enough time to work out for your family while you're on the road, and then making sure that you are a student of your calendar, executing, utilizing, and prioritizing what's most important first. I'm going to talk about time management in about an hour and a half, so you can join me. Let me see if I got one more guest. We have time for one more guest coming on. I think we do. Jean-Sebastian, come on in with Suitable. We are going to see if there we go. Look at that style. Right on time. What's going on?
Hi, David. How's it going?
I'm good. Welcome. Give me a little, I love the Suitable logo first, by the way. You almost match your own logo. Give us a little background on Suitable. As CEO and co-founder, what inspired you to change an old traditional business into what I think is super cool?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, first of all, suitably is sort of a play on words. So it's sort of like suitably with a Y, but we added two E's. One of the things that we really looked at when we started the company was it had to be accessible online. Back, 5 years ago when we first started Suitably, we said we need to be able to do custom suiting online and lower the barrier to entry by making prices affordable. Any businessmen that have ever gotten custom suits has probably gone through the 4 or 5 meetings. That's not only expensive for the manufacturer, but it's extremely expensive for the customer that has to invest a good 3 to 4 to 5 hours to get properly fitted. So, by eliminating all that overhead and including technology such as artificial intelligence on our website, we've been able to sort of develop an easy way for customers to access and purchase custom suits online without too much effort.
And how much of a cost savings have you been able to develop by utilizing technology? And what's the accuracy of the technology? Because I know I have spent a fortune on custom suits, and picking the right materials is essential, but the sizing, is why to me it was always something that was well worth it. When every body looks different, and unfortunately my body looks extremely different. I have the legs of someone 5 feet and the upper body of someone 6 feet. So I average at 5'7", and I have a slope to my back from being hunched over for so many years. Those are all things that I can utilize with your AI and have a suit cut custom fit for me.
Absolutely. So when people go through our automatic sizing technology, those are precisely some of the questions that they get. So, for example, hunched, chest size, how would you qualify your stomach? How tall are you? How much do you weigh? So these are some of the important questions that we determined over the years that are really important in creating a perfect fitting suit. So in terms of the accuracy of our technology, the beauty with working with neural networks and artificial intelligence is that the more customers that we make, the more we learn, the better we get. So with time, I would say that we've gotten to the point where 9 out of 10 customers will get our suit and not need any alteration. So that's a very good result, because obviously when we first started, those results weren't as good as they are now. So we're proud to say that a good 9 out of 10 of those customers, and obviously we're striving to get to 95. But as you know, the higher you get, the more effort you need to get that extra 5%. So we're working hard, but at the same time, we're developing the customer service piece so that we can deal with that 1 out of 10 customer that might not get that perfect fit.
Would you be able to license your technology? So there's been brands that have been around, and custom clothiers have been around forever. Is that part of your business plan, to license the Suitably system so that the other custom clothiers can be able to create cost savings to, obviously I assume in your business, I've always assumed that the salesperson, that it was a high commission event. These are expensive items, and they were high touch, white glove type of sales opportunities. I always joked around, by the way, in my training, even of financial planners, I said, if you want to be a great salesperson, you got to figure out, number one, what are the measurements? And then two, the capability of getting the measurements. Because once a custom clothier gets your measurements, you're sold. Like every guy that was going to give me a free shirt, once he got my measurements, I was like $5,000 in. So is this something that can be licensed?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I always have that discussion with my partner, Jeremy, about whether we want to license this. I think the value in what we have, to your point, is having thousands of data points, in our system, and that's where the value is. Because in terms of artificial intelligence, and in terms of learning it, I think that many companies could learn if you're given a dump of data. And so I think that the what we own is really a lot of knowledge with respect to data and how to convert that data into patterns. And so that's what we've worked very hard on. And so I think the goal that Jeremy and I have is really to try to dominate the industry, and try to be, from a cost and overhead perspective, But at the same time, if there's an opportunity to license that in the future, we're always open to that.
Last question real quick. So we've covered the accuracy of the measurements and the learning tool itself, and that's extraordinary. Obviously creating great cost savings, which is essential to the consumer. But what about picking out materials? Being able to touch and feel, or is it just see?
It's so in terms of COVID has sort of accelerated a lot of the things that we wanted to do. Previously, we do have a showroom locally in Montreal, but that doesn't cover our market. We sell in Europe, in Canada, and the US. And so one of the things that we've implemented on our website are two things that would help, satisfy that need. One being you can order samples of fabric. So if you're looking at, a model of suit or a model that you really like, it all you have to do is add that to, a sample to your cart, so you can touch, a few fabrics that you might be interested in. The second thing that we've also added, to your point, is we've added virtual consultation, sort of like what we're doing now. So we'll set up a stylist with somebody who has a few questions about how they should style their suits, and so forth, because it is quite, a complex operation for somebody that's doing it for the first time. So we sort of hold our customers' hands to the finish line so that they can add their items to their cart, get measured, go through our technology, and then receive their suit.
And how long from start to finish does the process take?
I think that's key to what we're working on, because everything is digitized and we've tried to automate things as much as possible. We're currently at the 4-week time, which is quite good in the bespoke world or made to measure world. We're probably going to announce in the next few weeks or so that we're going to be able to satisfy a 2-week delivery.
That's incredible. Sometimes it took so long to get my suits, I forgot I ordered them.
And then they can just send you anything they want, right?
Oh, I'm going to suitably.com. I got to suit up. The road show's starting with all the speaking engagements, and I gotta look sharp out there. So I got to get on suitably.com. Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate it, and please check it out. Technology and COVID isn't a bad thing for everyone. So suit up. We're ready to go out in the real world, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, David. Thanks for giving a platform.
Oh, of course. Take care. Awesome. Suitably.com. Everybody's thinking of a better way to do things. I love it. And that's one that I'm going to use for sure, because, man, the length of the process, the overselling, the back end selling, the manipulating that occurs in the bespoke world, reminds me of myself when I was young. Anyway, get a suit that fits you. That's what I say. And pick the colors that you enjoy, that look best on you. All right, everyone, let's take a couple questions here. I'm so grateful, and we'll get going. Here we go. What's the best advice for people still studying in high school? Well, do your best, learn as much as you can, and have fun. Do your best, learn as much as you can, and have fun. You will never have another opportunity like high school, so do your best. Learn as much as you can and have fun. That's what I would give you for advice. Find something that you love to do for your health too, minimum of an hour a day for the rest of your life. It's a good time to start in high school, making sure that you take care of this beautiful temple that the universe has given you to house this extraordinary power that it's given you as well. So please remember. In fact, I'm going to end on that one. For everyone, simply do your best, learn as much as you can, and have fun. Make more money, help more people, and have more fun. These are simple ways to be happy. I'm here to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, to empower others to be happy by living our lives in this way. Thank you to all my guests. Thank you to all of the people that came here and participated. Thank you for everyone for your gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and inspiration. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you in about 1 hour and 15 minutes. We're going to do a training on time management. So come join me. It'll be tremendous. And remember, most importantly, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. I'll see you in 1 hour and 15 minutes. Bye-bye.